So we are here to talk about Sync Show and how we are approaching AI. Got John Daters, our Vice President of Client Services. How you doing today, John?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Julia. Glad to be here.
So I'm excited about talking about AI. I know you are too. It's on the forefront of everyone's mind, especially in marketing.
Mhm.
Um, so let's just talk about how do you see the role of AI evolving overall in the marketing industries, and what opportunities do you believe that it presents for our clients here at Sync Show?
Yeah. Well, I wish I had a magic ball. I'd be able to tell you exactly how it's going to evolve into the future, and I would have looked back 6 months and invested in different places as well too. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's hard to pin down exactly how it's going to evolve. I think we can talk in generalities and we can see kind of where it's going. But to be honest, it's still pretty in the nascent phases. So not everyone is absolutely sure where it's going. It's been around for a while, kind of in the ether, but now it's really starting to get a lot of legs and we're seeing some true traction of results from the AI. And I think that's really causing a lot of folks to really stop and think as opposed to think of this ethereal thing. So where it's going, a lot of different ways, especially in digital marketing. It is a disruptor. What it is going to do is going to disrupt quite a bit of not necessarily the outputs, but how the output is arrived at, I think is the big item. So if anything is done properly in any sort of strategic initiative, there's always got to be a goal and a strategy behind it, as opposed to just the tactics that support it. So we at Sync Show, we definitely don't believe in whack-a-mole style marketing where it's just, tactic to tactic to tactic, throw more money at it. We always step back and we say, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? What are the obstacles? And who do you want to come along with you? So from there, we build the strategies. So what I think AI is going to be able to do for us and other marketers is help with that ideation of the strategy itself. I don't know if it's going to be able to build holistic strategies, at least just yet, that you can just set and forget. What I think you need to do is obviously have really good inputs still as you orchestrate certain items with AI to make sure that you get the outcomes that you're looking for. Because AI, when it comes down to it, it's really intelligent. It's matching all these different disparate and distinct ideas and putting them together into something cohesive and understandable, but it can't move forward without a human or at least somebody putting in the end goal and wording it in a way that gets you to that point. So AI can get you there, but you need to start it. So I do think initially where AI is coming in is kind of a lot of the low-hanging fruit stuff. And it's going to continue to do this better and better and better and faster and faster and faster. And I'm talking things like really basic 101 level content, maybe some generic social posts. Content is usually the first place we see AI being involved, and that's kind of a no-brainer. If it's kind of this high level, repeatable content, that makes a lot of sense. We're seeing it a little less effective when it comes to really in-depth, critical engineering level information where you can just input data and it gives you everything 100%. AI will tell you that it makes up things sometimes when it doesn't have the information. It doesn't say, I don't know. It says, here's what I think. So you really have to make sure that you're on top of that as a human. So as far as where it's going, I do think right now it's really super good at the tactical, low level, intro level stuff. Where I think it's going, in my mind, we're already seeing this kind of bifurcation, the segmentation rather of AI, where AI is less of a generality in some cases. So we think of like ChatGPT. That's a very common one. That's a very general, well-known AI. It's a generalist. What I'm seeing now, though, is a lot of software that's coming out have their own individual AI built into their product. So if it's a SEO engine, if it's a content creation engine, if it's a paid search engine, they have specific AI dedicated to those areas. So I think where it's going is we're going to see more segmentation of AI and less universal. Where I think maybe the 3.0 will be with AI, which I'm really excited for, is that universal AI that kind of combines everything together and takes these disparate AI results and does something cohesive with it. And that, once we crack that code, is really when the future really starts getting going real fast.
Yeah, I completely agree with you that, as we're looking into the future, we can make some educated guesses and some hopes about where this is headed, especially when we're, looking at how this is going to benefit our clients. But, circling back to one of the things I think that SyncShow is really great at is we are experts in our industry, right? So when we're looking at the strategic aid that AI can do for us, how does that, John, given that we have this expertise and AI is more general, how can our strategists utilize those tools in very similar ways that we utilize like Google, for example?
Absolutely. Great question. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where the human element still needs to exist. You still need to have that interaction and the business need, the strategic need in order to figure out how to move forward. AI is great in facilitating that movement forward, but to figure out where you need to go, you need that deep understanding of business, of your business specifically and your client specifically. You can get that data out of it, but data is not useful if you're not able to utilize it in a way that involves experience in industry, experience with marketing, and you can combine all that information together. AI is getting a little bit better at that, but it's a lot better at data extraction, taking that data and giving you options as opposed to saying this is the end all be all. You as a strategist still need to have that capability and ability to understand what really needs to be done with that information and how to use it.
With AI evolving at the pace that it is, how are we looking at this as an opportunity to do, have shorter timelines, less costs? Like, what are these efficiencies that we're going to be able to add and give to our clients?
Absolutely. Great question. So I'll just say at the end of the day, what SyncShow's responsible for and passionate about is results for our clients. So how we get to those results, whether it's human only, if it's a new technology and that new technology happens to be AI or just another CMS or CRM or whatever it is, SyncShow will test it and utilize it for the benefit of our clients. We'll take on all that risk, we'll better understand it, and we'll use it in a way that helps support their end goal and their mission for being, whatever that is as their business is. So AI is just one new iteration of that. It's an important one and one that carries a lot of weight. But in general, what we want to do, like I said, AI or otherwise, is use this technology to help the end goal of our businesses that we work with. So with AI, what we're really looking forward to is, like you said, the immediate things that we're seeing the effect of is savings on time and savings on cost as well, too, because we know the human element isn't cheap. It costs a lot to create content. It does. It always has. AI has taken a large step forward and able to reduce some of that cost. I've been saying that with AI, well, even going back a few years, we've heard that content is king, and it's still true. You got to have something for Google Index. You got to have something for your customers to read. You've got to get your message out there. Content, whether it's a visual or written word or whatever it is, content is king. So for a while, it was the rise of the writers. Writers became more and more important. Well, AI is kind of taking a bite out of that. What I see going forward is, and what SyncShow is doing, is the rise of the editors. So now, instead of starting with just a blank piece of paper, we're able to start with some ideation already on the page. And we're able to use our expertise as strategists and editors in the marketing world and B2B manufacturing and transportation logistics and services in order to craft that message a little bit better. So it's actually hitting your main points with your audiences. It's got your value prop in it, and that it's still SEO friendly as well, too. So for us in SyncShow, what we're seeing this as a quicker to market, a lower cost, and it also helps, honestly, with the ideation phase as well, too. So if we can say, hey, how can we best serve our clients in this strategic initiative? Instead of just, again, starting on a blank whiteboard, we're able to start from a starting point to then move forward.
That's great, John. And that goes right into kind of the next couple questions here is, you're talking about the areas that make already the most sense for AI integration, editing, ideation, and maybe as it advances, even into research, right? As it's able to pull in more information.
Absolutely.
What do you think motivates, and what are some of the considerations that we take here at SyncShow to incorporate these AI technologies into these different areas?
Right. So first of all, it's got to make sense. So marketing, especially digital marketing, is rife with people that just chase that shiny object, right? So it's like, oh, this is new, this is new, this is new. It's great to test, but throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying this is new, therefore it's better, is a leap some folks make that is very dangerous. You always got to have the end goal in mind. So any sort of integration you do with AI needs to be thoughtful. So I definitely recommend testing, and I definitely recommend leaning into new technologies, but I don't recommend throwing out proven processes for the sake of something new.
Yeah, we saw that happen where a company replaced their chatbot fully with AI. And it did not one of our companies, of course, but out there in the ether, and it did not go well. So on that, like, what motivates your decision, or what kind of considerations go into not incorporating AIs into certain areas?
Right. I would actually test it in quite a few areas. Whether you use it or you don't use it, it needs to actually get the outcome that you want. So it's less of a black and white, use it here, don't use it here. It's test it where you think it makes sense. And if you get the outcomes you want, and it saved you time, it saved you money, and or it gave you a better outcome than you would have had earlier, that's when you use it. If that criteria is not met, time, money, and outcome, then do not use it, no matter what the implications are.
Yeah. Well, and we're really discerning about what is a quality AI product.
Correct.
Versus what is just fad or doesn't have a lot of backing on it. I think that's
something I've noticed as well too, is a lot of companies are coming out with AI, and it's really just not AI. It's not true AI. It's more of like AI light, and they're just rebranding it, marketing it in a way that's a little dishonest. So you have to be very careful with what is and what isn't true generative AI or any sort of other AI.
Yeah. So, continuing on that, in what ways do we feel like AI can positively impact the effectiveness and the efficiency of our marketing campaigns? We touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but can we take a little bit of a deeper dive here?
Sure. Impact the effectiveness of our marketing strategies. Well, we did talk about, ideation from the start. You have that strategist there that's still able to connect all the dots and put all the information together and decide which way to go forward. Once you do, you've got your tactical elements that support your strategic goals. And then you can use AI in order to affect outputs in some of those areas. But one place we didn't talk about is the data collection at the end of it as well, too, and what to do with it. So we've, for the last decade or so, been just inundated with data. There's as much data as you want to have about anything, especially if you own your digital presence, where you're able to put your own analytics code on certain things, be it social, be it your own website, email sends, whatever it is. So long as you're doing it appropriately, and SyncShow definitely does it appropriately, track a lot of information, is that data has always been there. Parsing that data and doing something with it has always been the next hardest thing, because it's, for us humans, in a lot of cases, it's tough to separate emotion and emotion and just kind of things we think are going to happen. And we use the data to tell a story that we've already premeditated in our mind, as opposed to using the data objectively and say, no, this is what it's really saying. So we build our own stories with the data instead of letting the data tell us a story. What AI can do is take that emotional and that expectation and actually provide insights into how these data points are connected. And then from there, you can take that information or even use AI to leverage, say, what do I need to do with this information? Provide outputs that you then, as a trained strategist in the area, can then use to move forward.
That's great. Are there any concerns, like from an ethical standpoint, in in using AI?
Yeah, so there are, and it's a kind of a slippery slope. So you have to be very sure that you know what you're doing with the data and what you're not doing with the data. So one of the things that's pretty important, if you're in financial, healthcare industry, or even if you're just collecting anyone's personal information, no matter the industry, there's a lot of AI. ChatGPT-3 is one of those things where if you collect data or you input data into that system, it's then available for others to access and use at some point. It's available for ChatGPT version 3 to use at a later date, and that's sensitive information. God forbid you're not HIPAA compliant, you're using ChatGPT-3 or anything else that's not segmented warehousing of that information so that only you have access to it. If it's open to the larger audience, there's a lot of leaky data out there.
Right.
And AI is collecting all this data and it's using that information to build additional information, and it will use your information as well too, which will run afoul of a lot of regulations in some cases.
Yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely. Oh, sorry.
no, it's fine. Additionally, we can talk about where the content is generated from, where it takes its inspiration from content and for images as well too. I know the Screen Actors Guild just had a huge strike based on what rights meant from AI generated content. So I don't think it's settled science on certain things you need to be aware of when it comes to creative rights and licensing and everything. I think this is an evolving thing. For now, I think using your best judgment and being more conservative with data share as opposed to open is probably the best path to take.
Yeah. Well, and it sort of feels like a little bit like the wild, wild west, right? Like when the internet was first born, when SEO was open to everyone, how it worked. And now with ChatGPT 4, searching on the internet for results, like that blows open a whole new questions about, the data accuracy and some of those ethical uses that we're talking about.
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. So how do we here at SyncShow, let's just go back to this, balance that integration of AI with our human creativity and taking that discerning view of those ethical issues in data management?
So I think at SyncShow, it kind of goes back to what's best for the client. We're going to leverage AI where it makes sense. And we are making adjustments to how we do business, who we hire, how we hire, whether it be a vendor or an in-house staffer, based on how AI is able to impact what we can and can't do. What it's great at, like I said before, is kind of that low-hanging fruit stuff. It's getting much, much, much better about integration and diving deeper. It's not quite there yet, or at least not at the level that most people can access it at. If you had a developer that can connect AI and APIs and all this sort of stuff together, maybe you can get closer to it. But for most folks out there that don't have that resource, it's not quite there yet. So what we do and what we invest in is the strategy and the strategists that have that background that can see through the clutter and make clarity out of the chaos.
Yeah, and that is an important role that we all take on here. What do you think, as we're moving through this, are going to be the ways that we're going to measure the impact and results to show that these are successful?
Yeah, it's funny. This new technology, it always begets that question. How do you know if it's successful or not? I take a step back and I just say, look, go back to whatever your end goal is as a business. At the end of the day, your business needs to make money at a certain percentage over last year or quarter, or whatever it is. You need X number of leads. Whatever success looks like to you as a business, AI is just a tool. If that tool is not providing you with the results that you want, you've got a couple options. Option one is trash it. Don't do it. It didn't work. Option two is, which I prefer, is figure out why it didn't work. Did it help me get to that goal? If it didn't, is there something I need to change within that tool to get me there? Or is it truly the tool that can't get me there?
Got it.
Just because it didn't actually get you there doesn't mean it's not working. You may need to adjust. We see this all the time in strategy. We come up with maybe a content-based strategy. We know through experience, we know through previous results that something works. Maybe it's a blog-based strategy, a paid strategy, whatever it is. Just because it didn't work on the first time, what we get is that data, right? Oh, it didn't work. We got X number of clicks on this, but not this one. Well, why did that one work better than the other? We use that information to move forward and adjust. It's the same thing with AI. Is AI getting me at least not, if not fully there, closer to it? And can I iterate in order to get it there for me? Great. If it's getting me closer to the results I want, again, time, money, results, any of that sort of stuff, then I will continue to use it and I will see success in iterative processes as opposed to success in the full bore. I'd love to see success from step one, but that doesn't always happen.
Right. And one of the things that we do here, right, John, is A/B testing. So, you want to just give a little overview of how we're going to kind of A/B test some of these initiatives.
Oh yeah, we're doing it already. And I highly recommend in any software, in any new initiative that you do A/B testing, whether it's AI or just good old fashioned, blood, sweat, and tears. So we do it in a whole bunch of different ways. We'll do it at the entire campaign level, one client versus another client. We'll have these conversations with, you're on this accounts where we'll have a conversation with the client and say, hey, we'd like to use AI in this way. Are you comfortable with that? The client says, yes, fantastic. It's a combined effort to make sure that we're being honest and open with results and how things are being used and how they're not being used and what expectations are. And we have similar campaigns with other clients that maybe we're saying, hey, it's working well, we'll just keep it going. So right there between two different accounts, we've got an A and a B variant. Within accounts as well, too, let's say it's a blog deliverable. There may be different levels in which we engage with AI and the content creation for that. And we can see afterwards, if it's SEO-based strategy, which one of the two, after a certain amount of time, is actually providing the results that we expect. And we iterate based on that. And we learn, we adjust our processes, we adjust our pricing, we adjust everything based on.
Yeah, I love that we're able to pivot like that and really meet our clients where they're at. What kind of challenges do you see or risks associated with some of this AI integration in marketing? And why would you recommend mitigating these challenges?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it in a lot of different areas, but to put it kind of a little bow on it, as with any new technology or anything that's new to your organization or business, there's always risk. You can have a tried and true program that everybody else has used, but if it's new to your organization, there's inherent risk just because it's new, just with anything. So some of the risk is pretty straightforward. If you upload data to a shared resource, that data could get out. That's a big and obvious risk. Another risk could be if you don't properly engage with AI, the results that you get at the outset are not going to be what you expect. They could be even negative results. Neutral is best sometimes for testing, but positive is the best. But sometimes you get those negative results as well too if you go all in. So the results can vary, the issues can vary. It really depends on how you use it. I'm a bit of a more conservative kind of guy when it comes to new technology. I like to know what it is. I like to dive deep into it, and I like to start testing in iterative ways to mitigate the risk that it opens us up to. So I do recommend that folks use that, but I know other folks are much more like, let's move fast and see what breaks, which can also work, so long as what breaks isn't critical to your business.
Absolutely. So, John, looking ahead, how is SyncShow going to stay on the forefront of AI and implementing it into the future of marketing?
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot of articles out there. You ask anyone, AI has only been around for a year or less, like in a lot of any sort of value behind it that's practical. It's been around longer than that, but from a practical standpoint, I'd say a year or two at most. But all of a sudden, you got all these AI experts out there that know how to write the script, that know everything there is to know about AI. One thing to keep in mind is it is, like you said, the Wild West out there. This is new. This is a new horizon. So there are folks that are slightly more expert, but there's nobody that can claim, unless you're actually the engineer that's building it, that you are the expert on AI. Yeah. So one thing to do is when this scenario arises, it's a lot of different data inputs for yourself when it comes to research. So don't just trust one person or even one industry. Look out. Take off those blinders and look beyond your own industry. Look within the digital space, look within the traditional space as well, too. See how they're doing it. Look in as many places as you can to get the information and piece together that worldview on AI yourself. And the way SyncShow is doing it, to be honest, is a lot of that research, but it's also a lot of, all right, let's try integrate it in here and see what happens. Let's integrate it here. So it's learning by doing in a lot of cases. I really think is the best way to learn anything, because there's theory and then there's practice. And theory is good for research, but for true results, you need to take that theory and put it into practice. And if you can control that environment, you can have a lot of learning that comes out of it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Sean. I really appreciate, this conversation. I think this is something that's going to be a continued conversation as AI evolves. And, from what I'm hearing, SyncShow is committed to research, committed to understanding how this is going to be integrated into marketing, and really keeping our clients' goals and success as our focus.
No, I really appreciate the time, and I completely agree with you. I think I started the interview this way, and I'll end it this way as well too. At the end of the day, what we care about is client success, no matter the tool. AI is a powerful tool to help us realize client success. But at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Client success, not necessarily just AI.